Okay, so we're going to go ahead and open SB 386, and Senator Woodhouse is going to present. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Chair Dennis and committee members. For the record, I am Joyce Woodhouse, representing Senate District 5 in Clark County, and I'm pleased today to introduce Senate Bill 386, which improves upon the statutes that govern school plans for the progressive discipline of students. Senate Bill 386 requires a public schools progressive discipline plan to do a number of things. First, include the names of each member of the school's committee to review the temporary alternative placement of students. Also, to provide for the temporary removal of a student from the other premises of a school beyond just the classroom. And also to provide for the temporary exclusion of a student from any school transportation, though not during the same trip, which the student engaged in behavior causing the temporary exclusion. These provisions are intended to improve transparency and the safety of both students and staff. The bill also includes some minor adjustments to the administrative requirements for progressive discipline plans. On or before September 15th of each year, the principal of each school must I can't say that word right. Distribute, I know that word, a copy of the plan to all educational personnel at the school and submit the plan to the school district superintendent. The bill also moves up by approximately 15 days the various annual deadlines for action by the district superintendents, district school boards, and the state superintendent. Mr. Chair and members of the committee, thank you for your consideration of this simple bill. It does improve upon the existing progressive discipline statute and increases safety in our schools. And with me today, I have Chris Daly and Phil Keiser from the Nevada State Education Association, and it was their request regarding this bill, which was an important issue facing teachers today. So I would like to ask the indulgence of the chair to hear from both of these gentlemen, and then we'd be happy to take questions. Thank you very much.
Yes. So go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Philip Keiser. I'm a teacher in the Washoe County School District. I teach high school there, mostly government class. I'm also the Government Relations Committee Chair for the Nevada State Education Association, and I'm speaking in favor of SB 386. Now, most students show up on time and do what they need to do. Most students ride their bus to and from school every day without problems or incidents. Most students respect their teachers and their bus drivers and their custodians and the paraprofessionals. That's most students. But a few students are disruptive and distracting to the point of putting academic success and even the safety of other students at risk. In classrooms, these few students seriously interfere with the ability of other pupils to learn. In other settings, including transportation and cafeterias on playing fields, these few students' behaviors can end with injury or worse. This bad behavior is the target of this bill. The legislation is a reasonable response to a persistent and sometimes dangerous situation. Picture for a moment a bus driver going down a major road. The driver watching for jaywalkers and pizza delivery people and angry road ragers and folks drinking their coffee and texting on their phones and changing lanes without turning on their turn signal, and we've experienced this, right? Then from the back of the bus, from the back of the school bus, the habitual offender is threatening another student. He won't stop, he won't sit down, and everyone on that bus is at risk of not making it to school safely. That student needs a timeout. He needs a temporary alternative placement until his behavior can be addressed. This legislation provides an explanation to the student and parent. It calls for a conference to address the problem, provides a cooling off period of several days while the conference is scheduled with the parents, the pupil, the principal, and staff. It provides a breathing space that could forestall bullying. It provides an opportunity to address issues that may be of concern to everyone involved. In other words, it protects not only the ability of that particular student who's upset to get some help, but it also ensures that all the other people on the bus or the schoolyard or the playing field or the classroom have their rights to learn, to teach, and to discharge their duties protected. Please support SB 386 and protect every student's right to a safe learning environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Chris Daly, Nevada State Education Association. If I could, I'm going to try and bring up a video here. This is Andy Pieper. He was hoping to make it to Grant Sawyer today, but he was unable to. He is the president of the Uniserve Council of Nevada and the Nye County Support Staff Organization and also a school bus driver. Let's see if this works.
My name is Andy Pieper, president of Nye County Support Staff Organization, and I transport the most precious cargo in the world. And I've been doing this proudly without incident for 14 years as a school bus driver. In my 14 years, I have noticed, along with a justified emphasis on keeping students in school, at times there has been a loss of focus on the safety of every student and those working in public education. Recently in Nye County, I attended a training for school bus drivers and school bus aides. It left those of us disappointed and frustrated. You see, NCSSO has been working with the district to address these chronic student discipline issues on the school bus. There has not been much progress. So as we addressed our concerns, our superintendent told us, "We will discipline as we see fit. You document, you do your job, it's out of your hands then." The district's primary concern is keeping these kids in school and educating them. While NCSSO also wants to keep struggling students in school, this can't be done in a way that compromises other students and employees, their safety. That is why we support SB 386 to expand Nevada's system of progressive student discipline from the classroom to all other school facilities, including transportation. We appreciate that in the classroom, a teacher is the responsible party for implementing a system of progressive discipline so that every student can learn and be safe. This logic should apply to other school facilities. On a school bus, the driver is responsible for making sure every student gets to school or back home safely. This is a responsibility that all school bus drivers that I know take very seriously. It should follow that the driver should have the tools available to get this job done, including able to engage in a fair, progressive discipline process. In transportation, distractions can have consequences that are more grave than in any other situation. It only takes a distracted driver and a split second at the wrong time for a tragedy to strike. It is difficult to explain to someone who is not regularly on a school bus how serious this situation is. For example, student repeatedly standing up, engaging in horseplay, and ignoring instructions from the driver is endangering the other students on the bus and the public at large. School bus drivers need the tools to effectively deal with this far too common situation. Thank you.
For the record again, Mr. Chairman, Chris Daly, Nevada State Education Association, representing 40,000 teachers and education support professionals, including school bus drivers across the state of Nevada. We believe that every Nevada student deserves a high-quality public education, and we strongly support SB 386 to make improvements to Nevada's system of progressive student discipline and to expand it to other school facilities. Back in 1999, my predecessors at NSEA worked with then Speaker Joe Daly. on AB 521 to create the system of progressive student discipline that included the ability for teachers to ultimately remove the most disruptive students from classroom and then engage those students in the process that Chairman Keiser here outlined in his testimony. It was important for us to set up a system that was both fair and didn't result in having the most disruptive students coming right back into the classroom through that seemingly never-ending revolving door from the principal's office. Back in 1999, this was a very, very big priority for our teacher members. There's a mailer that I've got a copy that we sent to all of our members, sort of outlining the whole legislation back in that day. I think now when we look at how this law is working, we found that the system that was set out, this progressive student discipline system in AB 521, works best when it's taken seriously and when it's understood by all parties at a school site. While it does seem that nearly every school has been complying with the development of the progressive discipline plan, an informal survey indicates that many school sites may not be fully implementing all of the provisions of these plans or of AB 521. This probably has to do with a lack of knowledge of the existing law at many school sites. So SB 386 does a couple of very little things, but things that we think will bring a great deal of transparency and sunshine to this discipline process. One, it will require that the committee to review temporary alternative placement be appointed at the beginning of each school year, and that the names of those appointed be included in the plan. And then that plan, a copy of that plan, be distributed to every teacher and education support professional at the school site. This will, I think, in doing this, it will go a long way to educate staff, teachers, and support professionals at school sites that this process exists and it's there if it's needed. In addition, as we heard from UCN President Andy Pieper, SB 386 extends this system of progressive student discipline to other school facilities and transportation. Staff members who have responsibility of student supervision outside of the classroom need SB 386 as an additional tool to create a safe school environment, whether it be in the school cafeteria, on the school yard, on the school bus, or in other school facilities. Student behavioral issues can cause very serious problems, putting other students and school employees at risk. And we look forward to the discussion of this bill. Thank Senator Woodhouse for her never-ending championing of these issues, and hope to win your support on this item. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions? Yeah, Senator Harris.
Thank you. I just wanted to better understand the bill a little bit, and some of my questions were alluded to in the testimony. So I want to start with Section 9 with regard to the appointment of this committee to review the temporary alternative placement of pupils. I didn't catch in the bill, and I will admit that I did a quick read, that those members were necessarily appointed, just that we're required to form a committee. If they're appointed, my question becomes, how long are they appointed for? And if they don't want to serve, is there a due process provision for allowing them to reject that appointment?
Again, Phil Keiser. The idea here is that the principal typically would ask for volunteers and then appoint them officially, and they'd be members for that year. So at the beginning of each year, she would ask for people to participate in that way.
So to the extent that maybe teachers feel that they've got enough on their plate and they don't want to volunteer, what are the procedures we're going to have to work around? I don't know that we get the luxury of just assuming that we're going to fill all the spots.
So make sure you identify yourself every time, because we won't know who it is on the tape.
I'll take this one. Chris Daly, Nevada State Education Association. Often will defer to my chairman, Phil Keiser. But the committee,
And just for the record, Phil was the one that made the comment
correct, Phil
before.
Keiser, yes.
So that way it's on the record, so.
And this is now Chris Daly.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was Mo Dennis. So this committee exists. It was created in the these committees exist. They were created in the 1999 legislation. And so, I think there is somewhat of a question as to whether the committees have been appointed and are active at each and every school site, which I think it may be fair to guess that that is not the case. But in terms of the language, the change here in SB 386 is not to create these committees, but to require that the committees be appointed early in the school year and that the names of those who are appointed be distributed to everyone on the
And
staff.
I understand that, and that's what I was actually getting to, right? But when you had mentioned that they were appointed, then that got me thinking, because I'm like, I don't remember a process for appointment, but setting that aside, I like the transparency, but I do have concerns with regard to who gets notice of the members of the committee. I can perhaps imagine a scenario where there might be a teacher that's a little reluctant to want to serve on a committee if all the students know exactly who they are, and they're going to be on the committee to review temporary alternative placement, because there may be some unhappy parents and students in terms of the decisions that committee has to make.
Okay. I think that,
So, I mean, I guess I'm reluctant to require a teacher to have to serve, and I know that you said that perhaps they're asking for volunteers, but I guess that my first question when I read that subsection F was why require the names of the members of the committee, and if we're going to require it, who gets all that information?
the thinking behind requiring the names on the committee is to ensure that the committee
Exists?
exists.
Okay.
And that those stakeholders in the school community know that the committee exists. The issue that you raised around concerns around serving on the committee because the committee's work could be difficult,
Sure.
I think is a fair one. We had not contemplated that.
Okay, so for me, I'd like to see maybe that the committee is reconstituted every other year or something like that, so that if a teacher is going to give up their valuable time to serve, they know that they're not being stuck on a committee that they're never going to get off of. Right, and we also provide a variety of opportunities for every member of the school community to be able to serve in that capacity. So that was my concern there. And then I had another question with regard to section 11, where and it's a due process thing, and I agree with it, but again, just kind of following through to the end of the logical conclusion. So when we've got a student that's going to be excluded from school transportation, the pupil and the parent, I'm on page 7, line 10, the pupil and the pupil's parent or legal guardian must be granted an opportunity to respond to the explanation of the pupil's behavior and to indicate whether the removal of the pupil from the classroom or other premises or the exclusion of the pupil from the school transportation was appropriate in their opinion based upon the behavior of the pupil. As I read that, then the pupil and the parent get to come in and say, well, we don't think that result was appropriate. But I don't see anything that gives an alternate option for if they come in and say, well, we think that behavior was completely appropriate, or that their behavior was appropriate and should not have led to the exclusion of the pupil from the school transportation. So what do we do, or what's our process if a parent and a pupil contest the committee's decision?
This is Phil Keiser again. The whole point of having that meeting, that conference, is for the parents and the pupil to have an opportunity to contest that temporary exclusion, right? But if in the analysis of the committee that the student should still be excluded, then they have to find that temporary and a new placement for the student.
Okay. Then my next question would be, what do we anticipate that temporary alternative placement would look like? Would it be a different placement within the school? Are we talking about sending them to a different school for education for a period of time? Are we looking at a suspension or?
Those kind of, the suspension or expulsion are separate kind of categories for this particular case. And in the context of transportation, a variety of different options could be available to the school that might depend upon the age of the student, the availability of city transportation, whether it's a bus or the parents transporting the student to there, and some flexibility on a school-by-school basis might be appropriate.
Okay, so that satisfies that. I would think I'd like a little more clarity around what happens if there really is, something stronger that says that the committee's decision would ultimately prevail in the event that parents and the committee disagree about what the resolution was. Because when I read the bill, that wasn't apparent to me, and I would think that as a parent, if I had a child that was in that situation, I would want to know exactly what that process looked like and what my options are and what the outcomes could possibly be there. And then I just looked at the effective date is July 1st, 2017, enough time for schools to get on board with these committees, because if we're going to appoint them prior to the school year, we're approaching that new school year in August.
Right, and this is Phil again. These, the committees are supposed to be in place with the progressive discipline plans already.
Okay.
And so that would I think force the hand of many schools that do not already have the committee in place to put the committee in place.
Thank you very, very much.
Okay, other questions? Yeah. Senator Spearman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering here, and I'm going back to presentation we had back in February, I think it's like the 21st, 23rd, with community and schools, and we had the SAGE presentation. And one of the questions that I asked at that time was, what is the impact on classroom behavior and the way teachers deal with that of not having enough counselors in the school? And I know this bill wasn't designed to address that, but my specific question would be, have you given any thought, should this bill pass, have you given any thought to maybe doing some type of collaboration with entities such as CIS for capacity building? Because sometimes the behavior, they're acting out, but it has nothing whatsoever to do with them riding on the school bus, has nothing whatsoever to do. There could be other things, and I'm thinking about the young lady a while ago. There was a news article that talked about a young lady who was on her cell phone and wouldn't get off, and she was on her cell phone because she was looking at pictures of her grandmother who had recently passed away. So, should this pass, how do we make sure that if a student's going to be RPC'd, how do we make sure that during that time, if issues are identified, is there some way to collaborate with outside resources to make sure that they're getting the additional help that they need? Because if it's something that's going on around their environment, 3 or 4 days out of school is not going to solve it. So, just my question.
I mean, I think that's a fantastic suggestion. I'm sorry, Mr. Senator Chairman. Chris Daly, Nevada State Education Association, through the chair to Senator Spearman. I think that's, an excellent suggestion. I think since 1999, the National Education Association family has come a long way on supporting community schools. And so I think that probably wasn't as developed of a concept back when this legislation was initially drafted and passed through the legislature, but I think that would be a very smart addition to include during the alternative placement, for there to be some sort of contemplation or reference to community support type program and or counseling services.
Mr. Chair, Joyce Woodhouse for the record. Also to Senator Spearman, I think one of the critical pieces of the conference between the school folks and the parent and the child is hopefully in an instance like you suggested, or there are so many others across the field that might come out in that conference and could be able then to address it. Certainly, you know, some kids are not going to tell what the reason is why they have the bad behavior, but some will. And it gives the opportunity for, if there's a counselor on staff, to address that, or to go to another agency that is partnering at that school, and certainly for the classroom teacher to know what is happening with that child that they may not have known. And I'm particularly thinking about those kinds of disruptive behaviors that happen in classrooms. So I also look at the meeting between the parent, the student, and the school personnel as being a way not just to levy punishment, but also to find a positive way to address what is going on in the life of that child.
Okay, other questions? Okay, thank you. Do you have anyone else that you have giving a presentation? Okay, so let's take those that are in support of this bill, if you'll come forward. See someone coming in Las Vegas. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Dennis. Vice Chairwoman Woodhouse, Chairman Dennis, members of the Senate Education Committee, my name is Ron Lopez. I am the Advocacy and Representation Field Coordinator for the Clark County Education Association. CCA represents 18,000 licensed personnel in the Clark County School District. I am speaking in strong support of Senate Bill 386. I have been working with teachers for almost 30 years, and far too often I have counseled teachers whose careers are negatively impacted by, oftentimes, one student with chronic discipline issues. It's not that the curriculum is difficult, they know their stuff, it's because they have done everything they can with a disruptive student. They have received little, if any, effective assistance with progressive discipline, including removal of the student. In addition, teachers are charged with the responsibility of maintaining order in the classroom, while at the same time meeting the requirements established by the Nevada Educator Performance Framework, or NEPF. A teacher's rating can make or break them professionally. The impact of the lack of support has caused many teachers to leave the Clark County School District, and sometimes the teaching profession. The bill that Senate Bill 386 would amend was passed in the 1999 session, as has been previously stated, and is referred to as AB 521. AB 521 provided classroom teachers with a recourse to assist them in working with a seriously disruptive student and to ensure a positive learning environment for other students. Teachers depend on the site administrator to assist with correcting a student's behavior when needed. Teachers know that there are times when they will disagree with the action taken by the administration, and this bill expands upon a good law that addressed a needed process. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, there are 3 areas in SB 386 that strengthen the 1999 statute, known as AB 521, and are critical to teachers. First, the requirement that the principal establish the review committee on or before September 15 of each school year. This requirement was open-ended before. Second, that all education personnel will be able to request a review when they refer a student to the administration. And third, that all education personnel who are employed at the school must receive a copy of the progressive discipline plan for that school on or before September 15. CCA supports the mandatory timelines established in SB 386. CCA also supports Senate Bill 386's expansion of coverage beyond the classroom to include all education personnel and public school premises. Teachers know that all education personnel are involved with students, and there are times when it is necessary to exclude a student from a non-classroom setting and place that student in an alternative setting. Chairman Dennis, Vice Chairman Woodhouse, members of the committee, CCA urges you to support SB 386. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in support? Okay, let's go to those that are in opposition. Those wishing. Can't tell. Okay, how about in neutral? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Brad Keating, Clark County School District for the record. We are here in neutral at the moment. We support the intent of the bill. We spoke to the bill sponsor about it. We are just working with her on moving forward with the bill to ensure our number one priority in the Clark County School District is student achievement. So we want the students in school as much as possible. So we're trying to figure out where in the bill we can ensure that our kids are in the classroom as much as possible. Thanks.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, my name's Mary Przensky here representing Nevada Association of School Superintendents and Nevada Association of School Administrators. And I'm neutral. We are neutral on the bill. Looking forward to working with Senator Woodhouse a little bit more on it. I had the same question, Senator Harris, that you did about the composition of the committee, the appointment, and some clarification on that I think would be very helpful. And then it's a major deal when you take students off a school bus, but from personal experience and having done discipline as a dean of a high school and as a middle school vice principal who did all the discipline, there were several times when students were taken off the bus, and I guess I, maybe in my naivete, thought that wherever you are in school, whether it's in the classroom or on the bus or on the playground or in the auditorium or in the gym, if you are disobeying the rules and goofing off, you're going to get disciplined. So I guess this puts it a little more strongly. But we look forward to working with you, Senator, to ease out some of the issues that we have concerns with, just mechanics. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, anyone else wishing to speak in neutral? Okay, so we'll go ahead and close the hearing on SB 386. We are now at the most favorite part of this whole meeting, the public comment. Anyone wishing to give public comment, please come forward. All right. Welcome.
Nicole Rourke, representing the Clark County School District. I have to be full disclosure today and transparency. This item for our Good News Minute is a point of personal parental pride. So I'm going to bear with me for just a moment.
So you have a conflict of interest?
Potentially,
okay,
but hopefully not. I want to let you know that the Southwest Career and Technical Academy received 3 first-place awards from the National Federation of Press Women in the High School Journalism at-Large competition for 2017. The first-place winners were Cassie Valdez for columns and blogs, Julia Cox for news feature photo, and Jack Rourke for cartooning. So,
do you know him?
Thank you. A little bit.
Okay.
So, thank you very much.
All right. Congratulations. That was a good minute. Good news minute. All right. Anyone else wishing to give public comment here in Las Vegas? If not, I have one item just to remind you that we do have a meeting tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, joint meeting with the Assembly Education Committee. and then we'll have our regular meeting on Thursday. So with that, we have no further items to come before us, so we are adjourned.